For the penultimate episode of Pokemonth, we have Destiny Deoxys. I don't really have a blurb for this one, so let's just cut to the plot summary. This time, Ash and the gang journey to the high-tech city of Larus, renowned for its fully automated everything and its famous battle tower. While there, they meet a colorful assortment of one-shot trainers, as well as a young boy named Tori, who is afraid of Pokemon! A fear that soon becomes perfectly valid as a mysterious Pokemon called Deoxys comes to the city, knocking out the power and abducting the citizens. Trapped in a giant machine without batteries, our heroes must work together to get the power back on and find out where Deoxys has taken all the abductees, unaware of an even greater danger looming overhead. After the overwhelming sense of meh I felt watching Jirachi the Wishmaker, I wasn't expecting much from Destiny Deoxys, and my vague recollections of seeing it on Cartoon Network didn't really do much to help that. The few bits I remembered amounted to a movie that was very slow, very drawn out, with not a whole lot going on. And that's basically what I got, but it kinda works. This one is very much in the same vein as Forever, in that it takes its time and is much more subdued. It doesn't demand that you sit on the edge of your seat, rather it invites you to lay back for an hour and a half and enjoy the ride. And it makes a lot of strong choices in the beginning to keep you interested over the significantly longer runtime. One of the earliest scenes is the Battle Tower sequence, which I think might be one of my favorite sequences in the entire series. It's a typical Pokemon battle, but hey, if I'm watching a Pokemon movie, I want to see a freaking Pokemon battle. It has striking visuals, a good mixture of humor and action, and it makes for a great way to introduce Tori's main character arc.
The truth is, Tori is completely afraid of Pokemon.
And I don't know how they did it, but it's a freaking miracle that I didn't come out of this movie hating this kid. After reading the description on the box and seeing Tori's character design, I was expecting him to be a huge wuss. But they managed to strike a good balance with his Pokephobia, as it were. This could have gone horribly wrong in two ways. One, Tori spends the entire movie whining, and two, everyone's attempts to get him over his fear become borderline oppressive until it starts to resemble a conversation with that one friend you have who can't believe you don't like his favorite show.
I'm sorry, Ash, but I don't like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Well, have you even watched it? You probably didn't give it a chance. I watched it just wasn't for me. That was just one episode. You gotta watch at least 10 to really get it. Actually, I think Adventure Time is more my thing. Screw Adventure Time, you'll love MLPFIM. Heck, you're practically a brony already. Welcome to the herd. I don't want to be part of the herd.
Welcome to the herd! First of all, his fear is completely justified, because heck, how do you come out of nearly being trampled to death by barking walrus things without a little emotional scarring? But he still isn't a complete wimp. He wants to be more outgoing, and he still cares about Pokemon, but he also can't help but be afraid of them. And I can't really blame him, because if I was being followed around by little rabbit things who create electricity by sticking their butts together, I'd probably be a little freaked out too. This movie also continues a tradition that the previous one started, of highlighting one or two Pokemon in addition to the featured legendary. The only reason I didn't talk about it when reviewing Jirachi the Wishmaker is it's kind of pointless. Absol is interesting and kind of has a place in the plot, but the only reason Flygon is there is because Ash doesn't have Charizard anymore. Destiny Deoxys improves on that though, as the Plusle and Minun that Tori meets do have a place in his character arc, instead of serving the only purpose of being obnoxiously cute. And in addition to the one-shot Pokemon sidekicks, we get the largest group of one-shot expositing sidekicks in the series so far. There's this Blaziken guy who has a rivalry with Ash, this Blastoise guy who has a crush on May, this Metagross girl, these twins, this scientist woman. Ash and Tori are the main players, but everyone else is still given a chance to shine in some way, be it through a relationship or a gimmick, or even just a running gag. Not everyone has a huge impact on the plot, but the overall group dynamic helps keep things entertaining, even if the plot isn't as action-packed as some of the previous movies. Plus, the power outage makes for a very interesting setting. Not only are they trapped in a city full of dead technology, but the blackout even affects their Pokeballs, so they can't send out any new Pokemon or call back the ones they already have out. Which is a really nice touch, because that's a problem that only this world would have. I know it's strange to say for a Pokemon movie, especially one featuring a shape-shifting alien, but this one is very down-to-earth. What it does lack, however, is a strong sense of conflict. Destiny Deoxys is basically Pokemon's answer to old, pulpy sci-fi movies, complete with its own alien invasion. And a good chunk of the running time is dedicated to finding out what Deoxys is and what it wants. And they eventually discover that Deoxys was looking for another Deoxys somewhere inside the city and was only abducting people to keep them from obstructing its vision. So it turns out that no one was ever really in danger. Cool! Again, this is more in the tradition of classic sci-fi, so the focus is less on action and more on discovery, which suits Pokemon very well because discovery is part of what made the game so appealing in the first place. But then the movie decides it still needs something to blow up and brings in the legendary Pokemon Rayquaza, who thinks that Deoxys has invaded its territory and wants that SOB to GTFO ASAP because YOLO. On paper, this raises the stakes because we now have a giant sky battle that threatens to destroy the entire city. But at this point, the movie starts to feel like one of the less popular Godzilla films, with giant monsters duking it out while the human characters do something completely unrelated. Only this battle feels even more superfluous because we're not even invested in the combatants. When Charizard faces off with Entei, there's a reason to care. These characters have history, and the outcome of the battle directly affects the main plot. But here, hell, Rayquaza, Deoxys, place your bets, I don't really care about either of them. Sure, there's a chance that Ash and the gang could get crushed by debris, but there's also a chance that they couldn't. So the battle becomes less an imminent threat and more a reason the credits haven't started rolling yet. And in addition to spreading the movie too thin, Rayquaza and Deoxys fall victim to bad old-fashioned CG. I don't necessarily mind CG in these movies, so long as it's stylized or lets the 2D animation shine as well. The battle tower scene is full of CG, and allows for more interesting shots of the hand-drawn characters. But when the subject is replaced with a 3D model, all the charm is lost. Rayquaza and Deoxys are some of the more visually interesting Pokemon out there. The way they move is fascinating to watch, until they get all twitchy and rubbery and completely take you out of the moment. But the CG is just another problem on top of what was already there. Even if this had all been hand-drawn, the movie still drags, and there's a false resolution in the third act that really makes it overstay its welcome. I wouldn't call Destiny Deoxys one of the worst movies in the series, but I wouldn't call it essential either. It falls somewhere in the middle, and still makes for a somewhat entertaining 90 minutes, so long as you're not expecting to be blown away by it. But what came next just might be the most epic Pokemon adventure ever, in Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. To be concluded next time on Pokemonth! For those of you who stuck around after the My Little Pony joke, let's see the results of the viewer question. There was a very strong turnout for Misty, but an even stronger turnout for May. If you'd like a chance to see your comment up here, simply answer the following question. Which of Ash's many different looks do you prefer? Original, Advanced, Diamond and Pearl? Go ahead and leave your answer in the comments below and you just might see it featured on the next episode of Pokemonth. In the meantime, please enjoy this image of Jessie rubbing her butt against a vending machine, accompanied by my hit single, Stifle That Blob, Get Low. Stop!